It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to the realm of geekdom. This is nerd breaking news. We just walked out of Superman. We took advantage of the prime opportunity to get the tickets earlier and get to see it today. So non-spoiler review, at least we're going to try our very, very best. So we apologize. If you don't want to hear anything, this is your opportunity to walk away until you watch it. If not, let's go ahead and start with the review.
Let's do it.
Kid, we just walked out. Let's talk about how good it was, and then we'll talk about where it could have improved.
Absolutely.
And then we'll come up with a letter grade. So this should be a real quick video.
So we're going to do the good, the bad, and our letter grade at the end of the video. Again, Amazon Prime, early screening before Thursday. So this is literally, we just got off 30 minutes ago. These are our initial thoughts and our review, non-spoiler. So first and foremost, the good, for me, the good. Lex Luthor is, if he's not the definitive Lex Luthor, he's right up there. I know I've seen a lot of stuff going on, whether or not he did a good job. I think he did an amazing job. Lois Lane, I'm going to say it. I think she was probably the best Lois Lane we've seen in the live action version. 100%. I think we're going characters. Obviously, my fan cast, my guy, David Corenswet, he did his job. I'm happy. This is the Superman that I want. We're going to get to the bad. He's not the bad for me. He's another good part. I think he did amazing. Another good part. I would say Mr. Terrific. He stole the show for me. Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion, love him, the rookie as well, the TV show. He did amazing.
He's amazing. Yeah.
I think Hawk Girl was Mahometa. I think she was average. I think we'll get to that later, but she did her part. She did her part.
Yeah.
The Daily Planet did her part, but those for me, those are the main standouts. Before we get to the bad, I just character wise, another, I guess, keeping with the good. The idea of hope. There's a lot of, this is the movie that I know it's a lot of controversy with regards to the last 13 years and what they went through in the Snyders and the movies. This is, you could tell this is the James Gunn film. This is a huge influence on the MCU type films that he loves. And he brings back, and he did his job. It brings back hope. You want to hug this Superman. This is the guy that you want him to save you. You want him to do all that stuff. You feel protected under this Superman. It's a hopeful, brightful world. It's a lot of jokes, which we'll get to later. But yeah, for me, I just think that it did its job in the sense of we needed this, especially after the last 13 years.
Exactly. I was going to say that right now. It was just a simple fact that this film completely took out any sourness I had towards DC in their last
And you're not a DC fan.
And I'm not a DC fan.
Yeah.
I think the last movie, the only movie I was really interested in watching DC was The Flash.
Oh, Lord.
And we already know how bad that was.
Horrible.
So I'm one of those people that I'm usually against them. But this film was really great. I think, just like you said, the characters were all really well built in their own ways. And each of them had an opportunity to kind of showcase what they're capable of doing, which I thought was pretty cool, especially with the large ensemble that they had for this movie.
Which you didn't think, I asked you that leaving the theater.
Yes.
He didn't think that the ensemble took away from the essence of what the character really was, which is Superman.
Correct. This is still a Superman film, even though there are a lot of characters in it. It is still, and you still feel a Superman
It's
film.
his story.
Correct. And another great thing about this film, like you mentioned this before, it feels like it's a comic book. Like you're reading the comic book.
Yes.
And if you're the comic book fan, obviously you tell me. So let's go and ask, like, how accurate was it, character-wise?
So James Gunn said that this film is dramatically influenced by All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison. It's one of the top 5 Superman graphic novels ever. You could tell the influence, and you could tell. I told him while I leave the theater, I felt as if the page were turning in the comic book. This is the most comic booky movie. And I've seen it all over the reviews the last 24 hours. This is the most comic booky movie I've seen in a long time. And to be fair, I think the last time I felt like that, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's probably James Gunn's Suicide Squad that I didn't like. I thought it was average. But I got to give him that. He's going to give you that comic book movie. It's just that, will it work for everybody? We'll get to that later.
Correct. Now I think we could go ahead and jump in and actually talk about where they could have improved.
Let's go to the story real quickly.
That's number one.
So the story, again, non-spoiler. The story is Superman is in his third year of being Superman. He's around 30 years old. He's still learning the ropes. He's still trying to, doing all this stuff. And right off the bat, there's a fight there, which we're not going to go into. There's a fight there that we get the latter half of the fight that me and him lamented that should have been seen. And then he goes, which you guys seen in the 5 minutes clip already. He gets healed and he goes straight back to Metropolis and he fights the Hammer Bavaria, which is really quick. Not if you're expecting don't expect a long fight.
Quite honestly, I think most of the fights were pretty quick. They were like quick scenes, but it actually worked in a way. I actually think that it gave an opportunity, like I said earlier, like to be able to showcase your skills, the fight, and something we didn't even mention, just Lex Luthor's ability. How he was able to counter.
That's a great. As we continue the story, but before I do that, I have to stop that. So again, non-spoiler, but he does a great job of not only strategizing against Cal, but he has studied him, as he said, for the last 3 years. And again, I don't want to spoil what he does, but as you've seen him in the trailer in the little control room, you won't be disappointed. It's really cool and really, I got to give Gunn credit because he wrote it. That aspect is really cool.
He looks like a boss.
Yeah.
He's him. Plain and simple. He's him.
Correct.
For sure.
Okay, so the issue is that Superman's he intervenes against a conflict against two countries. By the way, on the second issue of Superman in the 30s, those two countries. So this is actually lore. So
nice.
Superman gets involved. He stops a war, as you guys see in the trailer. Essentially, that's the conflict. That's what Luthor's trying to do, non-spoiler, and that's what Cal is trying to get over the essence of the ramifications of what he did and what should he have done. And at the same time, again, non-spoiler, Luthor has his own agendas of what he wants to do, and essentially turns against. He has the people try the public image against Superman. So he has to go through not only a physical issue with Ultraman and the Engineer and Luthor, but he also has to go through something that we haven't seen yet before. A little bit of Man of Steel and BVS, but this is a little bit more fleshed out.
Correct.
Where can we not trust him, because obviously that was part of BVS Man of Steel.
Yeah.
But I felt like that wasn't the issue that James Gunn was trying to do. The issue I think he was trying to do is that he's not a god. What does it mean to be human?
Correct.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's the theme. We're not going to go more into the story. Now let's go to the bad.
Let's go to the bad. First things first. I'm an MCU guy. I really am. But this felt like an MCU on steroids. That's literally what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like if you remember watching Guardians of the Galaxy, if you remember the first one or the third one, quite honestly, it has that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And that could be a positive and negative depending on the person. Personally, for me, it was just way too much to see DC kind of emulating MCU.
Which we knew it was going to happen.
Yes.
We're not
surprised.
Was
something that we were expecting.
It's just the fact that now that we saw it, we're like, oh, okay.
Quite honestly, you could throw this into the MCU and it would blend right in. That's how it feels like.
The story we didn't love. I thought it could have been better, and the pacing was a little bit off. The editing was a little bit off. Mm-hmm. It did feel like that rumor that was going around where it was deleted scenes as it pertains to the days of the week. That was cut off. That was confirmed by Gunn. And it did feel like it needed something to supplement. In other words, it was 2 hours and 8 minutes or so. I felt like it needed 2:20, 2:15 to put an extra
just
little
a little
bit,
extra stuff,
yeah.
Because there was definitely some spots where there was a lot of things that were missing that could have definitely added to the story, and it would have made the movie a lot better.
Did you feel that it was like, if you're a non-comic book fan for this movie, Gunn is going 100 miles an hour with the story?
Oh, 100%. If you are not a fan of comic books, if you are just one of those people that's going to go to the movies, kind of enjoy it, this is your film. Plain and simple. For the comic book people, he could better tell you a little bit more on what it is for, the DC side. But as a general comic book person that I am myself, I think it was pretty decent. It still had its issues that it definitely.
Again, I want to touch on that real quickly. The issues, like before we'll regret not mentioning that now.
Yes.
Fresh in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we mentioned the editing. We mentioned the pacing. I felt that. There was a lot of. Again, non-spoiler. There's a lot of characters in this version of what Gunn tries to do that I felt. I told you this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
There was a serious moment, and then there was a laughable moment because he has to put in the jokes. And I feel like if you love James Gunn, you're gonna love this movie. If you don't like James Gunn, and I can see why a lot of people are saying this on social media, you either love or you hate this movie. You're not really in the middle.
Correct.
And I feel like we are that rare breed, which I don't want to. It's a segue to the next
section. The next section.
But I felt like the pacing was off, the editing was off. And again, we mentioned that before. We just want to keep re-emphasizing that because I felt like that dragged it down, and the story could have been more fine-tuned.
Correct.
That's the negative on my part. Anything more negative you can?
The other one that I could think of is just at one point Superman, and you guys saw the clip on. When they released the clip of him being interviewed by Lois Lane,
totally,
that little
dialogue.
Scene and that little dialogue, he kind of came off like a little crybaby, like a little child who's throwing a tantrum. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to 1980s Superman. That's what I grew up. Chris Reeves, exactly, who is a little bit more serious, but at the same time throws a little little dry jokes here and there, and makes it work. But in this case, it was just more of like he was whining, he was complaining, he was getting heated, and that's not the Superman I knew.
And that's fair. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that dialogue because for me, I like the idea of the that's Lois Lane. People seem to forget who Lois Lane is. She doesn't play around who the hell you are. She's gonna ask you those questions, and it is what it is. To your point, this is 30-year Cal. This is not 15-year Cal. If this was 10-year Cal, I'll be on your side. I'll be like 10 years in, and you're still acting like this. We have a problem. This is 30-year Cal. He's still doing what he's doing. So I'm going to give Gunn and David Corns for the benefit of the doubt. But I did like the idea that one thinks he's right and the other one thinks he's right, and I think that was cool.
Yes.
Now the execution, of the story, was messy and whatever. But that dialogue, to your point, I can see where you're going from that.
Correct. Exactly.
What is your predictions now that you've seen it box office wise? Is it going to make more money than Jurassic Park and Fantastic Four? Even though you haven't seen them yet, I'm just saying now that you've seen it.
Well, basically we were expecting that this film was probably going to be the top film of the summer, and we've seen those numbers already coming in.
Yeah.
I don't see it losing its spot, quite honestly.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think
Jurassic World made a lot of money last week.
Oh yeah, international titles, they always bring that money.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
But I think that Superman will hold the fort just because it's an icon.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
That's interesting. I think it has to hit Batman numbers. The 2022 Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves. Real quickly, what is your grade for watching the movie?
All right, so I actually had more issues with the film, but again, this is more because I don't know much of the
lore.
DC lore.
Yeah.
I'm just a general comic book fan in the DC side. So for me, it's a B-. It's still solid film, but I think it's a B-.
Guys, that's a pretty good grade from a guy who doesn't like Superman, doesn't like DC. So
I have my issues with the characters themselves.
And the last one you saw was The Flash. So this is actually, if anything, it's a great win.
This is definitely
a great win for DC.
This is a huge win for DC, quite honestly.
For him.
No,
I know.
DC is going to make money out of this film, and they're going to be able to expand.
And we talked about this, and again, before I say my grade, we talked about this real quickly. Okay, we said this. We criticize the tone and we criticize the editing on it because that's with the 2 hours that we saw. But we don't criticize what it's doing for the public persona of Superman in DC, of the backlash of the last 13 years. This is going to do his job.
Yes.
This is going to change completely. This is going to make people love him again, as opposed to the last time we saw him.
This gives an extra ticket. This is your pass go, collect 200, because you got a second chance to be able to come back around.
And you can bring families to this. This is make money. My as a DC as a resident DC fan of us here in the show, I give it a B. I can't give it an A. We talked about the negatives. I think David Corson is the GOAT. I'm gonna say it now. I just think I wanted him before he got cast. I was on records numerous times.
Yes,
I think he's the GOAT. I think he's give him a better story. Right? We agree with that. Give him a better story, and you're gonna see a better, not performance, but I guess just I don't know, because I think he did great.
I think that was the only thing that was really missing.
The story.
I think the story.
I think it's a B. Guys, I'm objective with DC. I'm not gonna go there and give it an A+ just because it's DC and the start of the DCU and the new universe. I'm not doing that. I have to be objective. And Superman's my favorite character. It's a B. But again, for a B- and a B, and for what we believe is going to change the persona of the public image of Superman, which ironically is part of the story, I think it did its job, and that's what it's supposed to do. The people that are saying that he's a hit a billion, no, stop. This is coming off a horrible 13 years.
Yes.
Be grateful we got a
great film.
Yeah.
It's a great film, and with the way that the MCU is, This is only going to bring the MCU better because that means there's competition finally, and that means they're actually going to be able to put good stuff out there. And we've been wanting that for years.
That's the idea. And we'll talk more about the spoiler review later in the week. But this is what we got, guys. We just finished seeing Superman.
So do you recommend it?
Yes, I recommend it because, again, it's been a horrible 13 years. DC fans have been desperate. You guys make fun of us, and I get it. The Marvel fans over here, they have every right to make fun of us. We've been catching L's. Oh, by the way, before you go, tell them your theory.
Conspiracy theory over here. Snyderverse, people.
Go ahead.
We know you're the MCU fans. Let's go. We know we wanted Henry Cavill to stay in DCU, to keep him down. It's over. It's time to move on. They finally found their king, and they're ready to come back. And we just need to step it up on our side of the MCU too.
I gotta give TK credit. That's genius. That's genius. MCU fans are really Snyder and Cavill fans because they wanted him to continue because he's so trash. I love it.
So bad.
But guys, that's all we have for now.
And thank you for tuning in, everyone. Whether you are gonna go watch this film or not, let us know in the comments. Come back and talk to us about it and tell us what was your favorite part. Spoilers in the comments for those who don't want to see it then. Alright, but other than that, keep your fandom alive and your warp drive engaged. Until next time, fellow nerds, this is Nerd Breaking.